Dad, honestly, don't come to New Year's Eve. You just make everyone uncomfortable. Those were the words that left me spending New Year's completely alone in my silent house. But at exactly 12:01 a.m., my phone rang. It was my son. He hissed, "You humiliated us." In the background, I could hear my daughter screaming, "We are going to sue you for defamation." I had remained silent for far too long, but the time for the truth to be revealed had finally arrived. Quick question before we continue. Where are you watching this from? Comment your location below because what happened to me that night, that phone call at 12:01, changed the trajectory of my entire life. I need to know this message is reaching the people who truly need to hear it. I am Arthur Vance, 59 years old. 3 days ago, my son called me. His voice had that slick, rehearsed quality, the specific tone he used with vendors he was preparing to fire. "Dad, regarding New Year's Eve," Julian said, "it's really evolved into more of a professional networking event this year. High-stakes clients, investors. You'd probably be much more comfortable staying at home." I understood exactly what he meant. At 59, I had become an inconvenience to his image, an embarrassment to his brand. "I see," I said, keeping my voice steady. I knew you'd understand. Relief flooded his voice, washing away his guilt. I hung up and sat in my kitchen in Oakwood, staring blankly at the calendar. December 28th, 3 days until their perfect party. But to truly understand how I arrived at this moment, how the son who once ran to me with his school science projects now couldn't bear my presence in a room, you need to go back 4 years. 4 years ago, Margaret was still alive. Sunday dinners meant Julian bringing big ideas over pot roast, Elena calling from Minneapolis to catch up. Little Sophie sprawled out on the kitchen floor with her crayons. "Grandpa, look," she'd say, holding up another masterpiece. "It's you and me and a dinosaur." Margaret would watch from the stove, that small, knowing smile playing at her lips. Later, when the kids had gone and the dishes were dried, she'd say, "You have a gift, Arthur, that mind of yours. Don't let it gather dust." She was talking about my research, the algorithms I'd been quietly developing for LifeCore Diagnostics, where I'd worked for 32 years. Margaret believed in it even when corporate politics wore me down. Then came the diagnosis: aggressive cancer, stage 4. She died 6 months later on a Tuesday morning in October, holding my hand. At the funeral, Sophie was 5. She stood beside me at the graveside, her small hand gripping mine tightly. When they lowered the casket, she looked up with Margaret's eyes and asked, "Is she cold?" I couldn't answer her. The grief was a physical weight, heavy and suffocating. For the first few months, the calls came often. Grief pulls people together, even briefly. But slowly, the calls became shorter, less frequent. Julian started talking over me in meetings at LifeCore. "Dodd's methods are solid, sure, but we need to modernize," he would say, speaking as if I were already retired, already irrelevant. Elena's calls turned into sporadic texts. "Really busy, Dad, can we talk later?" But later never came. I found myself alone in the Oakwood house more nights than not. Margaret's reading glasses still sat on her nightstand. I couldn't bring myself to move them. Her garden outside grew wild. I didn't have the heart to tend it. When Margaret died, something in our family structure died too, or maybe it just revealed the cracks that were already there. Maybe without her as the glue, we'd never really been a family, just people living near each other held together by her sheer will. 2 years after I buried my wife, I had a massive breakthrough. It was March 2nd, early in the morning, my home office lit only by the blue computer glow and the brass desk lamp Margaret had given me 20 years ago. I'd been working on an algorithm for months, artificial intelligence designed to analyze diagnostic imaging, not just to read scans, but to see patterns, to catch diseases early, diseases that killed people before doctors knew what to look for, diseases like the one that took Margaret. The code clicked into place. I sat back, staring at the screen, my heart hammering against my ribs. Margaret's photo watched from the corner of my desk, her smile frozen in time. 47 iterations. "This is it," I whispered into the stillness. "This is what you believed I could do." For the first time in 2 years, I felt something other than a hollow ache. I felt purpose. I reached for my phone and called Julian. It was late, but this couldn't wait. "Dad, it's 2 in the morning," he answered, groggy. I know, but I've had a breakthrough, a real one. This algorithm, it could save thousands of lives.
Pause. His voice sharpened, the sleep vanishing. Tell me more. I did. I told him everything. I had no idea that this algorithm, born from grief, late nights, and desperate hope, would cost me everything I had left. That call with Julian at 2 a.m. changed everything. This algorithm could save thousands of lives, but I had no idea it would cost me my family. The breakthrough was real, but it needed validation. I reached out to Dr. Evelyn Hart at the University of Minnesota. We'd crossed paths at conferences over the years. Her work on neural networks was brilliant and meticulous. We met at a coffee shop near campus on a gray March afternoon. I walked her through my framework on my laptop. She studied the code for 10 minutes without speaking. Finally, she sat back. Arthur, this is exceptional, career-defining. She stirred her coffee, her eyes sharp. But I need you to hear this carefully. File the patent before you tell anyone else, before you bring it to LifeCore. She paused. Before you tell your family. My family? Intellectual property disputes destroy relationships faster than infidelity. I've seen brilliant work claimed by people who contributed nothing. File first. Protect yourself first. Marcus Thorne's office was in downtown Minneapolis, all glass, steel, and intimidation. He specialized in IP law for tech startups. This is solid, he said, reviewing my documentation. We'll file a full patent application. If anyone tries to claim they developed something similar, we'll have a paper trail even the best lawyers can't break. The patent was filed March 15, 2022. Every line of code was timestamped and legally mine. I didn't plan to need it, I just wanted insurance. April came with Julian's call. Dad, LifeCore's in a tough spot. We need innovation to get investors excited again. His voice had that energized quality I used to admire. I know you've been working on diagnostic stuff. Can you consult on strategy? It felt good to be asked, to be valued again. We met at LifeCore's Rochester headquarters. Julian outlined where the company was bleeding money and where the market was heading. We need to pivot to AI-driven diagnostics. That's the future. I explained concepts, frameworks for pattern recognition, and how neural networks could be trained on imaging data. Not the full algorithm, I wasn't stupid, but enough to show the potential. Julian took notes enthusiastically. This could save the company. 2 months later, he invited me to an investor pitch in Minneapolis. I sat in the back, leather chairs, mahogany table, men in expensive suits. Julian stood at the front, polished and confident. LifeCore Diagnostics is pioneering the integration of artificial intelligence into our diagnostic platforms, he said, clicking through slides I'd never seen before. We're positioned to revolutionize early disease detection. My frameworks, my concepts, presented as LifeCore's innovation. One investor glanced back at me. And you are? That's my father. Arthur founded the company. He's been helping with some technical groundwork. Helping? Like I was his assistant. After the meeting, Julian handed me a document. Just a standard NDA to protect what we're building. I read it. Non-disclosure agreement covering proprietary information related to LifeCore Diagnostics. I took it to Marcus. This pertains to their existing proprietary information. It doesn't extend to your independent work. Your patent predates this. You're safe to sign. I signed because I still needed to believe that we were building something together, that helping with technical groundwork was just Julian managing investor perception, that family meant something more than ownership stakes and slide decks. Over the next year, I watched my work become his accomplishment, and I said nothing. The Thanksgiving table was set for 30, but there was no place for me. I don't mean literally. There was a chair at the far end of the table near the kitchen door, but when your son seats venture capitalists and board members closer to the centerpiece than he seats you, the message is clear. Julian's penthouse overlooked downtown Minneapolis, floor-to-ceiling windows, catered hors d'oeuvres, a bartender mixing craft cocktails. This wasn't the Thanksgiving I remembered. Margaret's pot roast, mismatched chairs, Sophie coloring at the kids' table.
This was a networking event with Turkey.
Elena worked the room like a politician. When someone asked about Life Course origins, she smiled. Our father, he founded Lifecore years ago, back when diagnostics was all analog. Years ago, as if I were a relic, as if 32 years of work could be summarized as analog. Julian stood at the head of the table, wine glass raised. I want to thank everyone for believing in our vision. The innovations we're leading in AI-driven diagnostics are going to change healthcare. Our vision, our innovations. I watched him describe my algorithm, the one I filed a patent for 8 months earlier, as if it had emerged from a boardroom brainstorming session. I gripped the edge of the table, the wood biting into my palms, trying to steady the shaking in my hands. A woman in a tailored suit turned to me. "Mr. Vance, you must be so proud. What's it like watching your son take the company into the future?" Before I could answer, Julian cut in. "God's methods were very traditional. We've modernized the approach, brought in younger talent, faster processes." He smiled. The room smiled with him. I was 59 years old, and my son had just called me obsolete in front of 30 people. Sophie tugged my sleeve, 7 years old, with Margaret's eyes. "Grandpa, why do you look sad?" I left before dessert. 6 months later, Julian called. "Come to the office." Not "Dad," not "Can we talk," just "come to the office." The conference room in Rochester was all glass and steel. Julian sat at the head. Elena sat beside him, laptop open, arms crossed. I took the chair across from them. It felt like a deposition. "The company's struggling," Julian said. "Investors are pulling back. We need the full algorithm, all of it." I kept my voice steady. "I gave you the framework. The rest is mine." "Dad," Elena's tone was sharp, impatient. "You signed an NDA. Everything you worked on while consulting for Lifecore belongs to Lifecore." "The NDA covers proprietary information I was exposed to, not my independent work, not my patent." Julian leaned forward. "We're family. You built this company. Don't you want it to succeed?" "I do. That's why I'm protecting the work." His jaw tightened. "Family doesn't sue family." I stood up. My hands were shaking, but my voice wasn't. "Family doesn't steal from family either." Elena's face flushed. "You're being unreasonable." I walked out. I made it to my car before I realized my phone had been recording the entire conversation. Minnesota is a one-party consent state. I didn't need their permission. I drove home, sat in the dark for an hour, and then I started building my case. They gave me a choice: disappear or fight back. They made a mistake. They assumed I'd disappear. They didn't just steal my work, they tried to erase me entirely. The first sign was the meetings. I'd spent 32 years at Lifecore. My name was on the original incorporation papers. But suddenly, I wasn't copied on emails. Strategy sessions happened without me. When I asked Julian, he said, "We're streamlining decision-making, Dad. Don't take it personally." Everything is personal when it's your life's work. Then came the dinners. Elena's birthday in July, I found out from a photo on social media 3 days later. Julian's anniversary in August, same thing. They were still gathering, still celebrating. I just wasn't invited. The social media posts were worse. Team-building retreats, board dinners, company milestones, captions like "grateful for this incredible team" and "surrounded by the people who matter most." I'd built Lifecore from a 2-room clinic in Rochester. Now I wasn't even in the frame. The hardest part was Sophie. Julian stopped bringing her by. When I called to ask why, he said, "She's busy with school. We'll figure something out." We never did. But Sophie found a way. Drawings started arriving in the mail. Crayon portraits of the two of us, a house with 2 stick figures labeled Grandpa plus Sophie. No return address, but I knew she was 8 now, old enough to understand something was wrong, old enough to sneak envelopes into the mailbox. I taped every single drawing to my office wall. By September, I'd run out of space. August. Richard Sterling called.
I didn't recognize the name at first. Venture Capital based in Minneapolis. He said, "I think you should see this." He emailed me a pitch deck, 23 slides. Life Core Diagnostics proprietary AI framework. Except it wasn't Life Core's. It was mine, word for word, diagram for diagram. Julian had pitched it to 3 VC firms in August of 2023, 5 months after I'd filed my patent. I pulled up my patent filing, March 15th, 2022. I laid the documents side by side, identical. I called Dr. Hart. She came over that night, read through everything, and said, "Arthur, silence protects abusers, even when they're your children." That's when I stopped being quiet.
September. Ethan and Maya, two researchers I'd mentored at the university, agreed to co-found a new company with me. We called it Cognitive Health. We filed for IPO in October. Target launch, January 1st, 2025, midnight. November. Sarah Jenkins from Forbes reached out. Someone had tipped her off. Maybe Richard, maybe someone else. I met her at a coffee shop. I brought everything. Patents, emails, recordings from the June confrontation, Richard's pitch deck, Dr. Hart's corroboration. Sarah took notes for 2 hours. Finally, she looked up. "This is going to be big. National coverage. But we'll embargo it until midnight on New Year's. Your family won't know until the whole world knows." I nodded. Good. She studied me. "You're sure? Once this is public, there's no going back." "They already took everything. I'm just taking the truth back." December came, and with it, the final insult. I wasn't building a lawsuit. I was building a reckoning. The text came on December 3rd. "Just immediate family this year. Elena." No hi dad, no phone call, just 5 words that erased me from Christmas. I stared at my phone for a long time before I typed back, "I am your family." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, "You know what I mean. Maybe next year." Maybe next year. I looked at the calendar on my kitchen wall. 22 days until Christmas. Last year was the first without Margaret. I'd hosted badly, burned the ham, forgot the cranberry sauce, but Sophie had loved it. She'd made me a construction paper star for the tree. This year, I wasn't invited. I met with Marcus on the 14th. He'd reviewed everything one last time, 247 pages of documentation. He closed his briefcase slowly. "Airtight," he said. I emailed Sarah on the 20th. Subject line, "I'm ready." Body, "Publish it." December 28th. Julian called at 3 in the afternoon. "Hey Dad, quick thing." He sounded distracted. "New Year's Eve is a client event this year, big investors. We need everyone to be polished." Polished. Code for "you don't fit." "I understand," I said. "Great. We'll do something in January." "Sure. Enjoy the party." He hung up. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't say "I love you." I walked through the house that night, slow, one room at a time, like I was saying goodbye. The living room, the office, the bedroom. I stopped in front of Margaret's photo on my desk. "I don't know if this is right," I told her, "but I'm done being erased." December 31st, New Year's Eve. I had 17 minutes until midnight, 17 minutes to decide whether to destroy my family or save myself. Julian's party was happening across town. Champagne towers, string lights, 300 people networking. I was in Oakwood, lights off except for my laptop, TV muted showing Times Square. The Forbes article was ready, the IPO live, waiting for 12:01. 11:15. I put my cursor over the delete button. My hand shook. Was I fixing something or breaking more? I thought about Caleb Jones, the young researcher at LifeCore, worried about his job. If LifeCore collapsed, what happened to him? 11:30. My phone buzzed. Julian.
I almost didn't answer. Then I heard the voice. Small, nervous. Grandpa? Sophie. My throat closed up. Hey, sweetheart, I miss you. Her voice cracked. I wanted to call to say Happy New Year. I wish I could hug you. I closed my eyes. I miss you too, baby. I made you a drawing, a big one. It's you and me at the park. Mom said I couldn't mail it, but I'm going to anyway. Background noise. Music. Then a sharp voice. Sophie, who are you talking to? Camilla, Sophie whispered fast. I have to go. I love you, Grandpa. I love you. The line went dead. She had snuck away from a party just to tell me she missed me. 11:43. I opened my email to Sarah, typed 2 words. Publish it. Sent. 12:08. My phone lit up. Emails, texts, notifications. The Forbes article was live. The IPO public. Cognitive health valued at $2.5 billion. The truth was out. 12:03. My phone rang. Julian, I answered. Dad, what the hell did you do? His voice was raw, panicked. The party noise behind him had turned to shouting.
I documented the truth. You humiliated us on New Year's Eve in front of everyone. If the truth humiliates you, I asked, ask yourself why. Then Elena's voice, furious. We are going to sue you for defamation. You've destroyed us. Marcus reviewed everything. You don't have a case. You're a selfish, bitter old man, she spat. The line went dead. By 1 a.m., my phone had 53 missed calls. By 2 a.m., 2,000 text messages. The Forbes article was everywhere. #diagnostic justice was trending. By morning, Julian held a press conference. He looked terrible. When a reporter asked about the patent timeline, he froze. The clip went viral. January 4th. Cleveland Clinic terminated their $18 million partnership with Lifecore. The stock dropped 31%. Messages from employees started coming in. Caleb Jones wrote, Mr. Vance, I'm terrified. Half the lab is getting laid off. I wrote him back immediately, offering a job at Cognitive Health. Sorry doesn't pay rent. January 12th, Julian called. Dad, I'm sorry. Why now? Because you got caught? Both, he whispered, but also because I finally see what I did to you. I erased you. You can't fix it, I said. You can only own it. They'll fire me. Then you have a choice to make. 3 days later, Julian posted a statement. He admitted everything, resigned permanently. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a start. 1 year later, December 31st, 2025, I wasn't alone. I was at my house with Ethan, Maya, Dr. Hart, Frank Miller, my friend of 30 years, Marcus, and Sarah. We raised glasses. To the family we choose, Frank said. My phone buzzed, 12:14 a.m. Email, can I call you? From Sophie. I video called her back. She was there, taller now. Hi, Grandpa. Dad said I could call. I remember, baby, I said, looking at her drawing on the screen. Healing doesn't have a timeline, but it starts with truth. If you are reading this true story and see yourself, the parent dismissed, the founder overlooked, hear me. You are not obsolete. Now I want to hear your story. Have you ever chosen between family peace and personal truth? Leave a comment below. Subscribe to this channel for more true stories that remind us why speaking up matters. Your voice matters. Use it.